Welcome back to the Hot Mess to Awesomeness podcast, a show all about inspiring smart, busy women to put their happiness at the top of their to-do list. Join your host and life coach, Dion Thompson, as she chats with amazing women who have figured out how to make their happiness a priority, and more importantly, what it's really like to go from hot mess to awesomeness. And now, on with the show.
Welcome everyone to the Hot Mess to Awesomeness podcast. I am your host and life coach, Dion Thompson, and I am here with the fabulous, beautiful, unbelievably talented, fun, exciting Meg Wallace. So now I'm going to read Meg's bio because it's fantastic, and it definitely encompasses the energy and all the goodness that I love about her. And then I'm going to tell you about why I really fucking love her. But anyway, so Meg loves to live large. She's determined, passionate, fun-loving, and spontaneous. In 2015, she quit her teaching job of 15 years to pursue her photography passion full-time and created Georgian Bay Boudoir, where she specializes in empowering women by showing them a new side of themselves through boudoir experiences. Okay. Yes, please. Yes, please. Yes, please. And I'm very excited to chat a little bit more about that journey. But I wanted just to mention about that first time you and I hopped on a random call. So, we meet in a brilliant networking group. So shout out to the busy-minded business mamas. Did I get that right? Anyway,
I think so.
I will tag them. They are great. And I'm really excited that, we were like, okay, let's have a coffee chat. So didn't know you, thought your stuff was super fucking cool, looked at your website. I'm like, damn, this girl knows what she's doing. And it's powerful and it's sexy and brilliant. And just, I loved it. And I'm like, I think I'm going to like this person. And like minutes, not even, I'm like, oh no, I fucking love this person. And I think by the end of that first call, we're like, okay, I need to talk all the time. And although we live close-ish, we don't live close enough to just like pop in for coffee. But fortunately, we live close enough that we can road trip and have a good time, which is coming. And I was really excited, moved, inspired by the ease that you have taken on, even though there have been some very significant ups and downs and situations in your world that not everyone handles the same way. Of course, everybody handles what they are going through in their own way. And I was really excited to have you here today to talk about your journey, about what worked for you, about what makes sense to you, and how you are taking what you have gone through and all of that energy and transmuting it into these beautiful experiences for yourself and for the amazing women that you serve. So thank you for being awesome.
Thank you. After our first call, I was like, damn, I really like this person. I hope we can be friends.
Can we be friends like for real? That would be
Can
really
we be
cool.
friends right now? Yeah. And we still haven't met in person.
I know. It's coming. And, we'll get there. Of course, we were just talking before we hit record that with, as a photographer, your world opened up when things started to happen, and you're really fucking busy right now. And I do think that's a testament to the work that you've been doing now for 4 years. And there's been a bit of a shift, I think, energetically and with women as a whole, where there's this huge movement to like, fuck everybody else, me first. I mean, even if we're just dipping a toe in, there's so much more conversation around what it means to be empowered. And, no one can empower somebody else. That it has to come from within. But now we're finding ourselves in environments that are supporting that growth. And and what the work that you do is a big part of that, because it really helps women to restabilize their foundation, and then that translates into all the areas of their life. It's so much more than a photo. Pictures. Right? Like, right? Yeah. It's and I was thinking about it because I of course have not had this done, but I'm like, what would I do with the actual photo? And I'm like, oh fuck, it doesn't matter, because it's the process that I think I would fall in love with. It's the experience that for me would be like what I would happily
Yeah.
pay for. And then the photo would just be like a representation of the experience and everything that went along with that. And I'm not sure if that's what your clients are feeling, but I know for me, I'm like, that would jazz me up to know, because
Yeah.
I know it is a full experience to work with you, and you get like the full meal deal, as it were. And so yeah, so I love that, divine timing. And so your business has been flourishing now for a little while, but now that it's almost like the world is opening up and you're here going, yeah, it's about time, ladies. Come on, let's go. Uh, so Meg, tell us, you are here in this space, and there's a lot going on and you're flourishing, but I recognize that the path was not all fucking sunshine and rainbows, and that there was decades of learning and growth
Yes.
that have occurred. And of course, we can't wrap up your entire life in, a less than an hour podcast. But let us in on the parts of your journey that you feel were the most significant, and that brought you here today.
All right. Well, as you mentioned in the intro, I was a teacher for 15 years, and I had the opportunity to travel around the world doing that, which was incredible and very eye-opening and wonderful. And when I came home, we lived in the Middle East for 5 years. When I came home, my mom was diagnosed with brain cancer, terminal, and so we knew we were going to lose her. And we had 16 months with her, which was really rough, to be honest. And meanwhile, I was working as a teacher, as I said, and I was a pretty miserable sod, to be honest. I didn't feel like I was contributing to to the students in a way that I wanted to, just because of administration and all these kinds of things. But more so, I didn't have any time to spend with my family, because it was a boarding school, and there were all kinds of additional responsibilities and duties that kept me there longer during the day and also on the weekend. So that was really tough with caring for my mom, because I would drive to Ottawa every weekend, which is a 5-hour drive, not see my husband or my son, and then return late on Sunday night, repeat, go back to work. So that, that's just the history of being miserable, really, with my work life. And then my personal life was really challenging. And so after my mom passed away, I thought, things are going to get better. And I didn't feel any happier. I still wasn't seeing my family, was really miserable at work. And I felt the toxicity there, like it was inside me too. And I was just like this angry, boiling, unhappy, miserable person. And one day in April, in 2015, I went to my boss and I said, something needs to change for me. I had started my photography business at the time, and literally that was giving me happiness. But I needed time with my family. And the answer was no. It's all or nothing here. And I was like, well, that fucking sucks. So I have a big decision to make. And that afternoon, my son died. My 6-year-old son died in a freak accident, about 1 kilometer from our house, not even half a kilometer from our house. And so you're just thrown into this completely devastating, unimaginable sense of loss. And yeah, that was 6.5 years ago. So here I am now, and there's been a lot that had to happen to get there. I got here for, if you want me to dive into how we got there, but that's sort of my history of horribleness, I guess, so to speak. And then the work that had to happen to get where I am, because I really was in a place about 6 months after he passed away where I was ready to turn in, as in like, let's exit this realm, because I just want to be with him.
Right.
Yeah. Woo.
Wow. Yep. Okay.
So that's the depressing part. But there's lots of beauty in that journey to get me here, really, which I know is what we're here to talk about. So
Absolutely. And thank you for sharing. And I appreciate your openness, and your willingness to walk us through those years that followed. And because I'm sure it's still it's an ongoing process of saying yes to you and to joy and possibility.
yeah,
Um, s- with everything that had transpired, obviously, it, the weight of that that's for some would feel insurmountable. Um, and I know there would have been sort of layers of that experience, but can you tell us a little bit more about what your process was to return back to you, to get to a
yeah,
place where um, you could move beyond? I'm not saying that the grief disappeared, but move through it
yeah,
and find some meaning, perhaps.
yeah, absolutely. Um, I mean, beyond losing Finn, there was the loss of, so I stopped working. So I wasn't a teacher at that point. I needed time to process. I will always be his mom, but at the time I'm like, I'm not a mom. I'm not a teacher. Who the fuck am I? And I've been miserable with who I was anyway. So I just didn't feel like anything except a big black hole. So at that sort of 6-month point where I was definitely suicidal, I remember lying in bed one time and I thought, well, we always have choices. They may seem like they all suck, but I think I need to make a choice right now. Like, am I going to die or am I going to live? And so I decided to live, and I'm so grateful. And but it wasn't like, snap, all right, here we go, like let's live large like we used to. No, it was like, I'm actually going to get out of bed and have a shower. That was like step number one. And I haven't eaten in 3 days, so I'm going to have some yogurt because that was all I could tolerate. So it started off with very small things. My friends, oh my gosh, like what would I have done without them? I honestly don't think I would have made it. So allowing them to help me, because I just shut everybody out. And little things like, I am going to put my shoes on and all I have to do is walk to the end of the driveway. That's it. But of course you get to the end of the driveway and then you go further. So it was very small and incremental. Lots of trying to figure out, like, who am I now? And who do I want to be? And so I decided after a year of having sort of unpaid leave, that I for sure was not going back to teaching. And can I take this passion of mine, this photography? I was photographing weddings and families mostly. Can I make this a full-time business? And everyone was like, you live in a small town, like you're good at what you do, but like, come on, let's be realistic here. But I needed it. I needed that passion and I needed that drive, something to put energy and focus into. And while I was doing that, I also started meditating, which really helped me a lot. I would meditate every day, about an hour in the morning and about an hour at night, whenever I felt like it in the middle of the day. And it really grounded me and centered me in a way so that I could tap into like my inner self, that I completely lost for a long time, even before our son passed away. So meditating, just those tiny baby little steps that really create the momentum to take another little step. And before you know it, I've got a flourishing photography business. I bought a building, renovated it, and then Georgia Baby Bar just kind of, I don't know, it was like a gift of the universe. And it was like, this is what you're supposed to do. And I was like, oh my God, yes, it is. So
There's something I wanted to ask you or talk to you about. So you had mentioned prior to Finn's death that you didn't know who you were, right? Like you started to feel like you were not in the right place. You were a
yes,
teacher, but what you were doing as a teacher didn't resonate with you as a person. And, one of the things that I find is almost universal for so many women specifically, and I would imagine all humans, is this sort of social pressure to be the things that we are on the outside, and to hold on to those hats, titles, roles, whatever that may be. And then that becomes like who we are. And so
Yes.
when that leaves, or there's the threat of it leaving, even if it sucks, it's like, yeah, but fuck, if I'm not that, then who am I? And
Yes.
those conversations with ourselves are not something that people are talking about as normal part of the process. And in the so to compounding your grief experience with the loss would be also the loss of you. And
Yes.
I appreciate that you tapped into meditation as a grounding practice, because I find that one of the most powerful tools, whether it's meditation or journaling or walking or whatever, something that allows you to go back in and talk to you, is about
Yes.
figuring out, who is what's the thing that's holding on to all these hats, right? So there's the mom hat, the teacher hat, the wife hat, the daughter hat, all of these things. But really, it's Meg. Like, who the hell is that?
Who is
And
she?
what
Yes.
the right? And one of the things that, for a lot of people who are feeling stuck or unsure, or like life is uncertain in front of them, is like, well, I don't know what I would want to do. I don't know what makes me happy. And when you do that work to figure out like who you are, all of a sudden, when things show up into your life, they become either a easy yes or an easy no, right?
Yeah.
So as you had said, so Georgia Baber sort of unfolded in front of you, right? So following photography, I'm just going to keep saying yes to the things that feel good, and then here we are in this space of success. But I think flourishing is a really great word for it, because it's not just about like clients or money or things. It's about you feeling the most you
Yes.
every day. So
I really was searching for, in the year that I wasn't working, I did some, I say work, but like projects with a local fitness instructor, Jacqueline, who's a great friend of mine. And she, through her work, also does a lot with supporting and encouraging women, lifting each other up. And so we had a little video project where it was all free. We invited women in. Jacqueline did most of the facilitating, but I documented it through videography, and we put together a little film. And I was like, yeah, this feels good, but it's still not quite right. Like, I don't want to be a videographer. Like, I want to be part of the process of creating change for people in a positive way. And there's a little video on my website where like I'm in the studio now, but I had bought it, and I was going to shoot like newborns and cake smashes and family stuff and some couple stuff. And one of my wedding clients said, would you shoot boudoir for me? And I actually thought boudoir was super weird. I'm like, why would you even want to take your picture in like your underwear? Like, it's kind of fucked, honestly. It's very ironic, I know. And so I said, of course, I'll do it for you. And I had to look up like posing, and I showed her photos, and she started to cry. And my initial reaction was, fuck, she hates them. Like, I totally fucked this up. And I said, like, do you not like them? Because I think you look absolutely beautiful. And she said, Meg, no, like, oh, I get goosebumps when I tell the story. She said, Meg, no, I thank you so much. I have never seen myself this way. My fiance always tells me that I'm beautiful, and I'll tell him to fuck off because I don't believe him. And here I am, and I totally see it. Thank you so much. And she like hugged me and ran out the door. And I was like, holy shit, this is it. It was like, ah! I know that people listening won't see my face, but it was like the universe sent a lightning bolt down, and it was like, Meg, you are going to be a boudoir photographer. So people already thought I was crazy for buying another building in town and becoming like a full-time portrait photographer. And then I was going to ditch all that idea and now be a full-time photograph people in lingerie, which is, of course, as you said, that's not what it is. It's much more, much more than that. But that's literally what happened. Overnight, I was like, I had this massive epiphany, and I felt so good. And it still happens every time I photograph a client. I see that transformation, and it's a gift for the client, of course, and it's a gift for me. So it's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely. In the coaching world, they often say when you give a breakthrough, you get a breakthrough. So it's interesting that there's that element of reciprocity. And when I see that manifest, to me, that's like, yeah, that's the fucking good stuff, right? So it's, you know, we as a generation, multiple generations have been very much conditioned to give. What the Nagoski sisters in the book Burnout call the human giver syndrome, that is our purpose in life. And those of us who've realized, like, no, it's all about reciprocity, right? I'm happy to share and give, but not for nothing. Like, not for, I want to be part of this process. And I think that a lot of people, you know, there's an honor in being of service, but being of service is not selfless. It's very much about me, right? It's very much that you're a part of it. And we can't be, doesn't matter what we do, we're here on this planet and are like connecting together. We can't be objective. Even scientists, you can't really be objective because you're here, like you're witnessing, and your witnessing is going through your own sense of self, and then that you're experiencing, and like it's kind of the why, right?
Yeah.
One of the things that has been coming up more and more is, and whether it was from the year we had and all the introspection and reflection, and a lot of people maybe having these conversations more, is like, what's the fucking point? What's the point of being here as a being on this planet, if not to enjoy it and to be, and to feel like you're a part of it, and you get to enjoy what it is that you're a part of. It is not to give yourself away, and it is not to accumulate, right? That's my opinion.
Mine too.
Anyway. Okay, cool.
You know, one of my favorite quotes, and it's not verbatim, but it's from the movie Shawshank Redemption, where one of the characters says, like, get busy living or get busy dying. Like, and that's, like I said, that there was that moment where I was like, well, I'm on the edge of the cliff. Am I jumping? Or am I going to make tiny little steps away from this cliff? And then eventually those tiny little backward steps was me running full tilt away from that. And so, yeah, I believe the meaning of life. I am not religious, but it is to be happy, and life is a gift. And yes, there will be some massive hardships for every single person in there, but we do have the strength and courage to deal with them. We may need help to do that. We will relapse, but I believe that life is beautiful, and if we will find what we're looking for. So search for the beauty, search for the magic, create it yourself, and you will always have that then within you. And you don't need your identity of being a teacher or your identity of being a mom, because, you know, when a child or someone important to you is snatched away, just like that, you realize, like, in an instant, like your whole life flashes kind of in front of you, even though you're not dying, but the impermanence of everything. So relationships come and go, finances come and go, people come and go, people go and never come back. So what do we always have? We have us. So let's build ourselves to be the most amazing and incredible and fulfilled and happy beings that we can be, because that's what we've got. That's my philosophy.
That is absolutely brilliant. Recently, I was chatting with a few people about, you know, your experience of life is your responsibility. What happens, right? Yeah. What's happening around you, you don't control. But what you do always have the power to exercise is choice. And many of us, and it's socially, I'd say sort of acceptable, it seems to be very much the norm, live inside limiting beliefs. And there's a definition of a limiting belief that I really feel I resonate with, which is it's an opinion that you're loyal to that sucks. And
Yeah.
and we use that as the lens, right?
Like I can't.
Right. Or people can't be trusted, or, well, let's not install bullshit, but I'm sure we all have some, right? This sort of overarching thing that we then run the rest of our life through, and we see our life
Yeah.
through that particular opinion that we're loyal to that sucks. And what you had shared is what I would call a liberating belief. Still an opinion that we're loyal to, but it really opens up possibility and
Yes.
allows for more joy. The other thing I think is fascinating is we as a culture are fucking petrified of joy. And we teach others to be petrified of joy. And the other shoe's going to drop. This is too good
Yeah.
to be true. Fucking blah, blah, blah. So we have to, it isn't a one and done, like, okay, I now believe that life is this. It is something you have to bring into your awareness and be conscious of, and maybe even decide
Yeah.
every day. So I'm curious about that process for you as you are sort of, if someone was to look in, you kind of arrived, but I recognize that it's still something that you would need to lean into and bring into your awareness every day. So do you continue with meditation? Is there anything else? I know that you're a creative. I'm pretty sure you built a shed a couple months ago.
Yes, I did. Out of old doors.
Right? Of course you did. But tell us a little bit more about how you're staying true to that liberating belief.
Right. I really do believe it's a decision and a choice, and it's creating a new habit pattern. So it takes time and it takes work. It's not like, this is my new way of believing and thinking. But it is absolutely 100% worth every shred of effort. My big thing has been, so a lot of people, myself included, don't move forward because we're afraid. We talk about all of the things that could happen that are bad. And we don't even look at all the fucking amazing things that could happen as well. Like, what the hell is up with that? Okay. So for example, I'm going to quit teaching. I'm going to leave a good salary, a pension with benefits, and 2 months off every year, and be a fucking photographer full time. Right. So I was like, okay, all right. What are all the bad things that could happen? I could go back and hate teaching again. Why the hell would I do that? So I started thinking about what are all the positive things, that could happen. I'm very logical and pragmatic. So I did have a plan B if all things went to hell. But I committed to it. And I would just say, okay, my next step is to buy a building. That's huge. I'm going to have a second mortgage. I live in a town of 6,000 people. Are they going to support me? And then I just decided. So whenever I came to that part where I was like, I know I need to make another move, and it could be a tiny little move. Like, can I afford to buy a new lens for my camera? That's scary, right? Equipment is expensive. So I would just say, what's happening here? Okay, I'm afraid of A, B, C, D, E, and you could a litany of things that could go wrong. Okay, well, let's look at all the amazing things that could happen instead. Well, that's a pretty great list. So if I wasn't afraid, what would I do? I would totally go and do it. So just remove the fear, because it's all bullshit and lies that you're telling yourself. Honestly, I really believe it.
Yep.
And so once you start that, again, as I said, it's habit patterns. You're like, okay, I mean, you have to make good decisions, and some of those decisions will be wrong, but the process of constantly making the decision to move forward means you're not constantly making the decision to stay stuck.
Yeah.
And you're going to make mistakes, but 10 great decisions and 2 mistakes is still better than 10 mistakes. Right?
Absolutely. You know what's interesting? There's a lot of moments in my personal life where I can look back and go, well, I suppose that could be viewed as a mistake, but it was the absolute right decision at the moment. The decision wasn't to make a mistake. The decision was to do this thing that I did. And whatever transpired from it, I could never have known unless I got here. But I wouldn't know any of this if I hadn't gotten, I hadn't done this in the first place? And so I look at, I too sort of left all this good on paper shit to be like, what am I? And same thing, although my town's much bigger, I still was like, is there enough people here to like support me? I don't know. Like, what am I going to do? And then I would be like, I go whole, like just full on into something, spend like weeks and weeks on creating, building, doing something, and then be like, oh yeah, that's not what I want to do. But I didn't know that until I did it. And so, there is no failure. There's only learning.
I was just going to say, there's no waste in that. Like there's creativity, there's joy, there's process, there's learning. And a big thing that so I have a group of women, it's almost 2,400 women from all over the place. And we talk about these kinds of things. Yeah. And say like, I've made mistakes, but I'm actually in a place where I don't beat myself up about them really much anymore. It's like, I do if I feel like I hurt someone, I'll be like, oh God, Jesus. But if I'm like, fuck, I didn't need to buy that lens, big whoop-de-doo, sell it. It's not a big deal. Right. I feel like we make a big deal out of a lot of things that needn't be a big deal. And we're very hard on ourselves when there's no reason to hard on ourselves. I do think that we are conditioned that way often as women, and that fucking sucks. But I'm doing everything I can to sort of blow that bullshit out of the water.
Absolutely. And you're absolutely right. They're just habits of thinking and being. It doesn't mean that is you. Right? It's just your habit. So if you have a habit of believing that you can't make mistakes. So there's, I could talk about this all goddamn day, but there's this whole sort of area of emotions, energy, limiting beliefs that you can get really sort of spiraled in, because once you're in it, your inner critic will tell you that this is where you are and this is who you are and this is what you do. And if you're not sure if that's where you are, the resulting behaviors create disconnection within yourself. So you had said that you had done some meditation, you'd done some of that get back to you work. That is the solution to get out of this. And the disconnection manifests as perfectionism, people pleasing, leaky boundaries, if there are any ever, numbing, and the imposter syndrome. So when I say that to a lot of women, they're like, yeah, I'm a all five kind of person.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Like, yep. Like that's me.
Five. Yeah.
And it really is just a representation of like, we're just listening to some shitty opinions and then we're loyal to them now. And then the number one way out of that little spiral of shit is the courage to be like, yeah, I'm just going to see what's actually happening. And I'm going to look at what's possible, which is exactly what you described, right? Like, okay, where am I at in this very moment? Oops, sorry, banging on the microphone. And what is possible? And now I'm going to go try that, give that a go and see where that leads, right? So a lot of people think it's almost too much and the fear is too big to get out of this place that I'm at. Like,
and then you never do anything.
Right. And to try to be like, if you were to try to get from where you were to where you are today, that might seem impossible, but all you did was try to get to tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like, okay, I'm here. I'm going to get to the end of the driveway. Okay. Yeah. Done that. Check. And now I'm going to go down the road. And now I'm going to buy a building. And now, right? Yes, there's a vision, there's a desire, and I can see myself going somewhere, but that's not the leap. It's the tiny little steps. That's where we get to put our energy.
And there's so much more as well beyond where we think we may want to go. I did not ever, Meg Wallace Photography, which was the original brand, was a very successful wedding and family portrait photographer. When I started that, I wanted to be like a very successful wedding and family portrait photographer. I did not expect that. It wasn't even a notion at the time. But as we work towards what we think and we reroute, because, like you spend 3 weeks on something that you think is going to be amazing. And then like you get 2 views and you're like, okay, well, I thought that was pretty great. And then, so you just have to, it's a journey. It's like a river. Yes. You can't fight upstream all the time. Like pull into the eddy, have a think and go, all right, what's really going on here? Am I happy? Am I doing what I need to do? Is this what I want? And sometimes you just got to go downstream a ways. Like it doesn't have to be a fight.
No, and I think that, for many people will talk about being in flow. That's literally what it means. To be not going with the flow, but going downstream. Like, you just do you, and the river will take you.
Yeah.
And then you make decisions, and rocks will show up. You deal with the rock, you keep moving, right?
Yeah.
Unlike when going upstream, to stay with that analogy, it's fucking work, dude. Like,
Hard.
heavy, hard. And so when someone tells me that life has to be hard, I'm like, then you're going the wrong fucking way. Like, turn around. Life is actually meant to have ease. I don't mean there won't be things to do, or that you won't be challenged, or maybe chances are you're still going to get tired because you're doing stuff, but there's ease in the process, and there's love inside of that, and like trust inside of that. I'm visioning like someone just fucking floating down the river, right? That's actually what it's supposed to be like. And people sometimes who don't believe that, who are stuck in opinions that, suck, think that we're batshit crazy.
Yeah.
So, well,
it's unfortunate that our society still sees like making choices for ourselves as selfish. And selfish has a very negative connotation to it, at least in my opinion, to many of the women that I've talked to about it. But I really feel like we have to make choices that are for us. Yes, we have to consider other people and how my decision will affect other people. But half the time people won't even notice. Like, and I will feel better for what I did. Like, I'm not going to respond to that email or that Facebook message at 9:30 at night, because my time is more important right now, and it's not business hours or whatever it may be. But we will be better people for ourselves and for everyone around us in our circles when we look after ourselves, and that's not being selfish.
No, it's interesting, that comes up a lot in my world, and I went like dictionary definition. Selfish is about putting yourself first at the expense of others.
Yeah, I don't like that word.
And that's not what we're doing.
No, we're not being selfish
at all. It's self first. Self first doesn't, it's inclusive. And absolutely, I'm going to give. But I can't, if I have nothing to give, then what's the fucking point? You don't want what I got if it's empty, like if it's crap, if it's tired. And I like the cup analogy, fill your cup first.
Yeah.
But don't just fill it, man. Your job is to just constantly put stuff in that cup. And then everybody on the outside gets to drink from what spills out. Like, I don't give it away. It's there for the taking. And I know I talk with my hands.
You get excited.
I get very excited. But like, if I just focus my whole life on doing stuff that filled my cup, everybody around me benefits. Everybody.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. Yeah. And that, I think, that's the vision I want to hold on to. Right. That's the liberating belief that I think allows us to let go of some of those very confining conditioning elements that we are all just sort of part of. Fuck.
I think we talked about this maybe in one of our talks, but I don't know, it came up somewhere. Like, what would you want written on your, is it epitaph? Like when you die, like on your marker? I'm like, well, first, for me anyway, I just want to be cremated and scattered everywhere beautiful. But if I had one, I would want it to say Meg Wallace nailed it. Like, just, I didn't sit on the couch wasting my days watching Netflix. There's a time and a place for that, but not every day and not hours and hours in the day. And I don't just mean nailed it as in did all of these things, but like I nailed life. Like I found balance, which is something I'm still working on. Haven't nailed that yet. I was good to people. I made the world a better place through my creativity and what I do. Like, yeah, to me, that's nailing life. Being a good person, filling your cup every day and making the world a better place. I think it's very simple, and we fuck it up by trying to make it complicated.
Right? It's not hard. Life is meant to have ease, and stop making it so fucking hard. Oh, yeah. Right. That's a whole other level of conditioning that we've been given, that it has to be hard for it to be good. Bullshit.
I really feel like when I've struggled with my weight all my life, up, down, hating it, loving it, but putting conditions on, like, well, like I can I can only buy new clothes when I lose 10 pounds, or I'll have the photo shoot when I lose 30 pounds or whatever. Fuck all that shit. Because where did that come from? And so I go to, okay, what's really happening here? And then why do I feel that way? And a lot of it is conditioning from, unfortunately, my mother, but also society. So when you can really stop and think, okay, what is actually going on here? And then why does that bother me? And when we get to the why, sometimes you have to ask yourself over and over and over again. And then the why will be like, oh God, Jesus. Oh, whoa, that's really big. But then we can say, no, I don't have to feel bad about my body because my mother did. That was her shit. And it's completely changed how I feel about myself. I wear whatever I want. Sometimes I walk around downtown with no bra on. And if you don't want to look, don't look. I have a shirt that says dildo, and then in a small underneath it says brewery. It's from Dildo, Newfoundland. It's a legit brewery. And I just love wearing that shirt in town because people are like, you know, but no one will say anything, you know? I just like to stir the pot a little bit about that. I like to blow assumptions out of the water and make people I don't really like to make people feel uncomfortable, but to challenge their own thoughts and processes and judgment. And I'm really very anti-judgment. Judgment can, just go fuck off.
Thank you. Thank you for being that person on this planet and for inspiring women.
Who wears
everywhere.
the dildo shirt?
Absolutely. That is.
I'm advertising a brewery.
You're supporting local business or small business. Absolutely. Brilliant.
That's right.
Brilliant. Yes. Meg, that I not only do I want to talk to you for long periods of time, but I get to talk to you, more and more, and hopefully get to see you face to face and love up on you a little bit more. What is it that, so many words of wisdom that you shared, and the last little bits about like, fuck all that shit. You take that home, write that down. That's important. But is there anything that you want to share with the listeners, something that they can wrap their hands around before we go today?
Well, probably a few things. One is that you already have everything that you need, and you know everything. You don't know everything that you need to know, but you have everything that you need. You have the courage. You have the passion. It just might be buried. It might be lost. And you just might not believe it. And so when you can believe that you have it, then you can make the steps to make it happen. And finding that courage is hard. People will tell you, no, you can't. That's not possible. Like, even that's stupid and that I'm being irresponsible. And these are my decisions to make. And just keep taking that little step forward. Just always move forward. Make the decision that's going to be better for you. Awesome. And that will become a habit and a pattern. And then it becomes easier. It's so fucking hard to start. Like, I couldn't get out of bed. I think I tried to kill myself by eating pounds of nibs, like, the Monster Family bag. I was just like, I don't care. I'll just fucking, like, until I was sick. And then I'd eat more, like punishing myself. So you can't just switch out of that into, buying a building and creating a new brand and doing what I'm doing. It was not a walk in the park. My marriage, we walked to the edge as well. Hard decisions, hard choices, but it does get easier. You just keep making them, and it's incredible what you can do.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you, my friend, for being here. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in and listening today. And whether you live anywhere near her tiny little town, you absolutely will want to join the amazing group that she offers to empower women every single day. So the link will be in the show notes for that. Love you, Meg. Love all of you.
Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, thank you. Have a great day. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the show. Join Dion again next week to learn more about what you can do to go from hot mess to awesomeness.